The MORI program, or the Milwaukee Overdose Response Initiative, works by our team receiving reports generated by MFD members as well as outside agencies that are still within Milwaukee County.
We identify people who've overdosed within the last 24 hours. We put a list together and we go out and we see those people, with our goal being to see them the very next day. As firefighters, and the fact that we have this logo on our shirt, that really allows us access into people's homes. That basically allows somebody to look at us and say, okay, hey, I know this person, I trust them. But once we're inside their home and they're willing to talk with us a little bit, that only takes us so far. That's where the peer support specialist comes in.
They're able to recognize through lived history of what's going on with the patient that we're attempting to make contact with. And from there, they're able to assist us with getting that person into what type of treatment they're at what stage in their life, and as far as their substance use.
The substances changed, but the experimentation continued much through my teenage years. I was introduced to opiates when I was 22 years old, and that was really the beginning of the downfall that I never saw coming.
I became addicted to opiates in 1993. My disease really escalated while I was working as a medical assistant in a clinic where there were opiates available, and I was stealing them, and eventually my job performance was really being affected by my addiction, and they chose to let me go.
It initially started when I was a teenager using opiates, and eventually it progressed to heroin, and then eventually I started selling heroin as a form to support my habit, and that eventually led me to prison.
I used opiates for approximately 10 years. Yeah, it was less than a year that then it became heroin.
And in my case, I was stealing from the office and writing fake prescriptions for myself and calling in fake prescriptions to pharmacies.
And I spent 7 years of my life in prison due to my drug use and my choices. And at that point in time, I knew that I had hit my rock bottom. And I knew that if it weren't for prison, I would probably be dead right now.
I realized I was really sick and tired of living this double life of being a medical assistant by day and then being addicted to opiates basically all the time. It was like having another full-time job, always having to chase.
It took me 5 years to even attempt to get help, and I went into a detox the first time. That was the first of 16 treatment attempts for me. Went to jail for 8 months for 3 felonies and 9 misdemeanors or something like that. I ruined everything. I lost everything multiple times. After about 9 months of using again, I got pregnant, and I went into treatment for the last time 8 weeks pregnant, and I haven't gone back. I know that pregnancy and children are not everybody's wife, but I feel very blessed that having a child was what did it for me, because I don't think that I would be here if I wouldn't have had her.
I just had enough of that chasing, and I detoxed in my living room and made a couple calls and realized that I was in a lot deeper really than I even imagined. I decided to get help in May of 1998, and I've been abstinent ever since.
I really had to evaluate where I was headed, and I knew that if I didn't change my life, I would be addicted for the rest of my life and being a part of that vicious cycle. So I did everything that I could to change my life. And a big part of my recovery was becoming a peer support specialist so that I could give back to my community the things that I once felt that I was taking away from them by my active drug use.
Becoming a peer recovery coach and a peer support specialist kind of gave me that opportunity to offer the benefit of my lived experience with struggling with substance use disorder. And I came to understand that that was something that could actually help another person to be able just to sort of connect with them and say, hey, you don't have to do this alone.
Who's going to want to deal with somebody who not only had an addiction to heroin, but is now a felon? Who's going to want me to be a part of their team, or where can I turn for a career after all of that? And being a part of the Maury program is acceptance to me. I can be who I am and use all of what I've been through as a way to help the community and change the way that things are with the opioid epidemic right now. It's a chance to connect with people on a level that a lot of people don't understand or haven't been through. And that, I think, generates acceptance for that individual, that yes, they're going through a hard time or they're struggling with addiction, but they still matter.
You know, to be able to get in a car and knock on someone's door 24 hours after they almost died, and to have them look in our eyes and say, I need help. Does everybody open the door? Does everybody want help? Of course not. But to be able to be the people that are there to offer it to them and assist them is one of the greatest blessings that I've ever experienced.
And we can develop this connection where we can talk about recovery, talk about where they're at, and help them get to the other side of it. And that's very gratifying and rewarding to be able to help people in that way.
And I know what it's like to be in that same space, that dark place, that desperate place, that lost place. I know how hard it was to dig yourself out of that space, and to just have somebody there who gets it and who understands. And there's been so many times when I'm doing this type of work that people tell me that same thing, that, you know, it's so great. It feels so good to just talk to somebody who gets this, and they don't feel so alone, and they don't feel as if there's no hope. And they see you and they see that, you know, recovery is possible. Not only is it possible, it's totally doable. And here you are, you're living proof of it. And, you know, maybe no one has ever cared about this person before. And I get to be the one that steps in and says, well, I care about you and I want to help you.
I was 19 years old. 2001, I used prescription medications. The day came where I was very dope sick again, and nobody had pills. So guess what? We made a call and we got a bag of heroin. So I started using heavy.
I started using heroin at the age of 14. And I carried that addiction everywhere I went for a long time. You know, I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to let go. I always clung to it, and it clung back to me. And it was like a marriage. It came together so well.
I got the paramedics called on me. I'm not kidding you. 12 times from June until September, because people kept finding me passed out in a park, non-responsive. The most I went to a hospital in a single day was 3 times. I'm so embarrassed from that, but you know what? That's my story. I'm in and out of people's houses. What do they say? I'm couch surfing or blah, blah, what have you. Went to a friend's. She had some morphine. I overdosed. Okay, because I mixed it. I did all that morphine, plus I did the dope. That's the day that I met the doctor asked me if I wanted help, and I needed it, okay? And that's when I met Carrie through the Maury Project.
Through the addiction, I felt like I was getting dogged. And I wanted to kick the habit so bad, but I didn't know how to kick it. So I just kept going. I'd be on it for a while, come off it, be on it, come off it. And it was an on and off thing for a long time. And that happened up until I met y'all. I never experienced anything like that at all, you know, someone reaching out to me and wanting to help me. I never had that, you know. So that was a new type of experience for me. I said, let me see where this can go. I wanted to see where it can go. And it made something beautiful come together. Because now I have y'all as my friends. You know, the Maury team is my friends. I started knowing that I had true friends in my life, and all I wanted to do was let it go to the next level.
I ended up going into a treatment for a while, and I did very good. But I don't think it was my time yet. I wanted an easy fix, you guys. I stopped using because of my stroke, but I stayed clean because good things happening is what made me to go into recovery. It made me just realize, hey, wow, there's this big, huge world out there besides drugs that I can experience. I deserve it. I deserve it.
I was in rehabilitation, and y'all had told me that I'd be there to check up on you. I was like, oh, they're just saying that. And one day they came and said, you got some visitors here. And it was the Maury team came to visit me in rehab, in recovery. That made me feel so good, man. They said, boy, you look so good. Y'all told me, they said, boy, you look so good. Life is well worth living, you know. Give yourself a chance to live.
My view of patients with substance use disorder has certainly been changed over my time working with the Maury program. In the past, it's been a thing where, you know, you respond on scene with somebody and they're unconscious, you give them some Narcan, they wake up and they say, you know, I was just tired. We all know that's probably not the truth, but, and it can kind of sometimes turn into something where, I don't know, maybe even resentment, because you see these things over and over and over again. So coming into this program and seeing people from the other end of it and what they're actually living like at home, and the fact that you start to realize they don't want to be here. This isn't a choice for them anymore. Maybe it was at one moment, but that choice has since been taken away from them.
Now being in this position and knowing a lot of the people that we've made contact with, their families, friends, and now I'm able to understand that they don't have a lot of control. It's something that just takes over their life. People are willing to disregard a lot of friends, family, and things that may seem obvious to us, but just don't to them, because the substance use disorder that they're dealing with just takes over their life.
They're real people with real lives and real families, and we're able to go in there and treat them as that whole person and not kind of put them into this little box saying, oh, they're just an addict, you know? We don't even use that word anymore. You know, it's somebody who's experiencing substance use disorder, and when we start to change our minds that way a little bit and think about things more from the perspective of the people we're trying to help, I think that's something where we can all change our mind a little bit, eliminate some of the stigma that goes along with things like somebody who's taking methadone or Suboxone or Vivitrol or something like that, and turn that into a positive and say, you know what, that person is actually there trying to help themselves.
As a supervisor here and my other members of the team, we actually do end up building a little bit of a bond with the patient and sometimes the family as well. And to see things change for them really is a pretty uplifting experience.